Diversity and leadership from the hood, the untapped workforce. I have been very fortunate over the past 12 years to have built some very powerful relationships in the hospitality industry, but mostly impact young people. And when I talk about diversity and leadership from the hood, people probably, what does that mean? Because I know in corporate America, we're always going to diversity training classes, and they're teaching us different things about understanding the difference of other people. And we have leadership classes as well. But the base of all that is the untapped workforce. What is the untapped workforce? The untapped workforce are people who have and come from different lifestyles in an inner city community. People who have social challenges. What are the social challenges that I'm talking about? A felony on a record. An immigrant who crossed many, many miles of borders to come to America for the American dream. A little homeboy or little homegirl in the neighborhood who may have gold in their mouth, who may not speak English well. A young kid who may have grown up in the cornfields of Nebraska that doesn't understand what a brand is. That's the leadership and diversity I'm talking about, the untapped workforce. Now, I want everybody to sit back. I know y'all go ahead and laugh at that picture there. That's many, many years ago. I look like a little Poindexter there, huh? And I always start the base of my talk on the white picket fence. And I want everybody to sit back, put your seatbelt on. And I'm going to take you on a journey through my life story. But not just my life story, because when you hear the story of Chef Jeff and you hear my presentation today, I'm the voice for millions of young people and socially challenged people across this country. And I went through many changes in my life. And I want to go back about 30 years ago when I was a little boy. I was very mischievous, but I always had a dream. I always had a dream that one day I would be able to buy a house on the hill with a white picket fence and have a swimming pool in the backyard on a quiet, quiet street with big, big trees. And I've always wanted that because my mother raised my sister and I. And I come from a long line of generational poverty. And I watched my mother struggle her whole life to raise my sister and I. And I grew up in a house where we never had a fruit bowl sitting in the middle of the table. I've never experienced seasonal fruits like papaya and wild berries. We never had a cake dish in our kitchen. We didn't have a double-door refrigerator where you can open up the refrigerator and have choices of what you wanted for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've always been a hungry child since I was a kid. I got in trouble a lot, from elementary to junior high to high school. Many people said that I wouldn't live past 18. They told me that I was a problem and I was a victim. And I began to view the world as a victim, and I became a problem. But I always had blinders on my whole life as a kid because I never was challenged. No one ever saw potential in me. It was the older homeboys in the neighborhood who saw potential in me. It was the older homeboys in the neighborhood who taught me how to put food in that refrigerator, to help my mother out. And eventually I did get that house on the hill. It wasn't a white picket fence, but it was pretty close to it. And when I look back many, many years ago, and I'm 43 years of age, it's something I'm not proud of. And I want each and every one of you young people to really listen. Don't think about what you're going to do this weekend. Think about how you're going to make a difference in your life, how you're going to dig inside and say, you know, maybe I am smart. I do have potential. But I also want all the HR people here to really listen at my message and take a look at these young people and the backgrounds that they come from. Because I have a lot of experience dealing with HR, especially when I first came out of prison. And when I went to prison in 1988, it was a time in my life that a lot of things wasn't going right. I was making a lot of money. I never used drugs. I never been involved with gangs. But I was managing a workforce on the streets which consisted of gang members. I built relationships in different communities, not just in San Diego, where I grew up in Los Angeles, but around the country. I understood the importance of impacting a bottom line. I knew what marketing was. I knew the importance of a brand, but I didn't know it at that time in my life. The problem was I had a bad product, and I had no integrity. But it wasn't until many years later, when I went to prison, that I was able to make a difference in my thinking process.